Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have John Phillips, co-founder of PredictIt, the stock market for politics. And we're going to take a look at some key primaries and show how the candidates on the populist front, whether they're Republican or Democrat, could potentially be in danger based on their way of thinking regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. John, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks. And behind the scenes, we were talking and you had mentioned, it's not about Ukraine today, but it really is about Ukraine today.
It is. So much of what's happening in 2022 is going to be proxy votes on Trump, on Ukraine, on Biden, even though none of them are on the ballot for American voters.
So let's start with Cawthorn's chances. What are predicted traders saying there?
Well, predicted traders still have Cawthorn this is North Carolina 11, and they still have him at 75%. But like other Republicans and some Democrats on the left, they have to be careful what they're saying about Ukraine, because American voters in some ways are way ahead of their political representatives when it comes to supporting Ukraine in its fight against Russia. They see a principle there, but they also see it from a practical standpoint. And they also see it in the form of, gas prices going up, for instance. So, Cawthorn he was found with, disparaging the leader of Ukraine and the Ukrainians, as have some other candidates that we're going to talk about in just a minute. And this can't help. So, Cawthorn was considered to be, a shoo-in. He's still at 75% odds, which means predicted traders think he's probably going to win that primary. But we'll have to see.
And in the Ohio Republican Senate primary, J.D. Vance is also taking a hit for his position on Ukraine, saying earlier during the insurrection that he doesn't care about Ukraine. I think for a politician on the national and international stage to say they don't care about a country or its people in general, it probably isn't looked upon lightly.
Well, this is such an incredible, flip. Now, Vance was endorsed by Tucker Carlson. Trump has not weighed in on this race. This is, of course, for the Ohio statewide Senate primary on the Republican side. But Gibbons has shot up. He's now at 43% odds to win the Republican nomination. Mandel is at 27. Timken is at 21. She was endorsed by Portman. And J.D. Vance is all the way down at fourth place at 16% odds. Again, that's according to predicted traders. So what is going on here? Well, Vance had talk about bad timing. He made that comment to which you referred. I care more about the southern border than I do about the border of Ukraine. It seemed as if he was playing into the worst stereotype of what his detractors are saying, including those running against him. Now, it did not help. I don't know if you saw this video exchange, but it was 70-year-old Gibbons, who is now the front runner, he and Vance confronting one another, and it looked like it might get into a physical altercation. It may be that North Carolina voters or Ohio voters don't like the appearance of a 70-year-old being, confronted physically by a 45-year-old, which is how it looked. So Gibbons is at number one with 43% odds at this point.
And in Missouri, we're seeing the same thing there as well. Looks like voters don't give into violence there.
Well, it's an accusation, of course, but Greitens, has fallen to third place. He was the front runner. He dropped 25 percentage points or 25 cents down to 32% odds to get the Republican nomination after his wife accused him of abusing her and her children. Where the truth is, we don't know, but voters have abandoned him, at least predicted traders think they have. On the other hand, Schmidt is at 36%. It's really Schmidt's number one at 36. Hartzler is at 33. Greitens at 32. But that's quite a fall. Again, this is another campaign where Trump weighed in, and we'll sort of see how this plays out.
And let's wrap up by going to a region of the world we don't talk about as much. We typically tend to be focused on the US, of course, Russia, Ukraine, and Europe, but Pakistan. And according to the notes here, their politics can be tough to decipher as well.
Oh, sure. Khan is a very, having met him, he's a very charismatic leader, and to survive in Pakistani politics, and he's come back more than once. It takes a certain skill set. Now, he had steered away from close American relationship. And some people felt he was doing that really to cultivate voter interest, which all politicians are sometimes accused of doing. But at this point, what happens with Khan is sort of a proxy for what Pakistan's relationship with China is going to be. Khan steered Pakistan more towards a closer relationship with China. Of course, this is in the context of India's difficulties with China in the mountainous border region that they share, but also the changes happening within Pakistan, and some of the other power brokers in Pakistan, notably the military and the intelligence services, perhaps, and civilian politicians, are interested in a tighter relationship between Pakistan and the West, and in particular the United States. Pakistan has a close relationship with China. If Khan goes, and the markets say by 60%, Khan is going to be the next leader, Asia Pacific leader to leave office, followed by Moon from Korea at 43% odds.
You know, John, it's so interesting. I think one thing most of us have learned through the Ukraine-Russia conflict is just how precarious the different relationships and alliances are. Certainly, I'm learning new things I was unaware of, and just to see how fragile around the world and intertwined all these various governments and alliances are. I think it's been a real eye opener. It certainly has been for me. I can't speak for our entire audience, but I feel like I've learned a lot, and just how delicate this diplomacy balance is.
Oh yeah, and buckle your seatbelt, Joe, because this is going to get worse.
All right, well, we'll leave it on that. Fortunately, we have your insight to help guide us along the way, John. Appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you, Jill.